Hey gang, Evan Sutton here. I'm a Brooklyn-based electronic music producer and audio engineer, and today we're going to talk about creating some retro screaming lead sounds using Massive and a technique known as sync modulation. So strap in, tighten up your shoelaces, let's get it on. Alright, so let's get an idea of what we're working with. Got a little sequence happening here. And if you're not a Logic user, the redder the notes are, the higher the velocity. More on that later. So let's head on into Massive. Right now we're just listening to a square wave, and I run into a lot of people who think that Massive is a one-trick pony. They think Massive is only good or only meant for making the sounds. And, you know, there are a lot of people out there who really love the sounds, but, you know, Massive can do so much more than that. There are so many different things we can get out of it, and one of the hidden features is doing some sync modulation. So we've got this pulse saw sync wavetable here under the virtual analog section. This is away from all of the other categories. This is in the virtual analog section, and Massive isn't great for analog style sounds. It's kind of the flagship digital synthesizer, but we're going to select this here and we're going to do something that none of these other waves can, which is give us this sync sound. Now, you may recognize this sound from a lot of great recordings from the 80s. The Cars were a great band that used sync sounds quite a bit. The Prophet 5 was out back then, and it really had some really nice sync sounds in it. It had the ability to do sync modulation. And lots of different people have used it all the way up through Daft Punk. It's a very recognizable sound in songs like Robot Rock, things like that. Now, what we're actually talking about here, when we say sync, what we mean is that we're taking one oscillator and we're syncing it to the other oscillator. So each wave that we load up, it has what's called a phase, which is the position. It starts at a certain place in the wave. And when we're doing sync modulation, what we're actually doing is starting that wave over according to the frequency of a separate oscillator, the one that we're not listening to. So we're actually using that separate oscillator as a control signal and using it to just reset this other wave at a time when it wouldn't normally reset. We have a nice version of that. The frequencies that are being played on the keyboard, but the wave is going to be started over at these different times. Now, this phenomenon sort of creates this nice tearing sound that you'll recognize. And in the virtual analog sync wavetable here, we have a nice version of that. So we can either choose the saw or the pulse. I'm going to go with pulse because this is a little bit more true to the original sound. So I'll solo this up, and what you'll hear if I hit a couple of keys, you're hearing very high pitch. I'm going to pull down this sync knob here. You get that kind of tearing. I like to think of it as sort of like a slurping sound, you know? That's what it sounds like when I'm drinking a beer, by the way. That's the sound that I make. So anyways, what we're going to do here is find a nice sweet spot for the sync knob while we're listening to our sequence, and then we're going to go ahead and add some extras to really take this sound home. Now keep in mind, this is technically not changing the frequency of the wave that's being played, but it can make it sound out of tune, all right? So you got to use your ears, you got to choose a spot that's not going to obstruct the melody. I kind of like that. And let's go ahead over to envelope 1 here, and let's just add this. I'm gonna use it with a really kind of a quickish decay and no sustain. So it's just gonna, and it's a very fast attack. So it's just gonna basically be coming down through this area. And let's just take a listen as we fine tune the range of modulation here. I kind of like that. That's pretty good. Just adjusting the decay time to match the music. All right, that's pretty good. I like that. And what I might do here, I've got a square wave here that I'll just bring in, and it's tuned an octave down. This is up to you. Just to give a little bit of extra richness and extra sort of some nice bass foundation for the sound, even though it is sort of a lead. Sometimes I like a full spectrum sound, especially when there's not much else going on in the arrangement. Yeah, that's really going to help it cut through in the mix. So this is working pretty well so far. Let's listen to it with the drums. That's pretty good. All right, so that's working out pretty well, but I'd like to just fine tune this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is bring in a filter. I'm going to bring in the Daft filter. This is just a low pass filter. It has some extra character to it. That's what the manual says. Real descriptive, right? So we're going to go ahead and bring in envelope 1 and use it to modulate the cutoff here. So let's take a listen. And it's just going to add some extra contour, just a little bit of extra shape, and sort of just polish this sound up a little bit. Here's without the filter. Like that. That just adds a little bit of extra shape, a little extra expressiveness to the sound. Now, one other thing that we're going to do with this envelope before we add anything else is just turn up this slider, which is going to make this envelope's amplitude more sensitive to velocity. Okay? So as I hit the key harder, it's going to approach this full power that we have here. So as you turn this up, you have to hit it harder and harder for it to get to full power. And it's going to respond lower and lower to the softer notes. So here's me playing here I'll just play a soft note here. Here's a harder note. Hear the difference? Soft, hard, soft, hard. So what that's going to do is really give us some nice pop to the sound. As I mentioned before, I've got some different velocities here. So the yellows are sort of the softest velocity that we have here, and then the orange is next up, and then the red is the hardest velocity. Pretty good. Yeah, I like that. It's making it so that not every note sounds exactly the same. We've got a little bit of movement to it, and I really enjoy playing a sound that comes to life as I hit keys harder or softer. So now I'm just going to do 2 extra quick things. I'm going to add a little bit of chorus. Okay, what the chorus is going to do is it's going to give us a little bit of stereo depth. It's going to really drive home that nice sort of retro vibe. Doesn't have to be so heavy. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get on my mod wheel over here, and I have the mod wheel mapped to macro 1. We're just going to use that for a little vibrato. Let's take a listen. Here, I'll just play something. So that's pretty good. So I can go through here in Logic and just overdub my mod wheel, and we'll take a listen. There, that works for me. So now let's take a listen with these drums, and we've got a nice, fun, semi-funky, but a nice screaming sync lead sound. Even go an octave down with this one. Ooh, that's nice. That's great. Don't tell me that's not useful. It's a lot of fun. It's a great sound to have in your back pocket. It's a lot of fun to jam out with. Works great on bass lines, works great on leads. You could even use it on chords. But just remember, it's all about adjusting that overall sync amount so that things sound nice and musical and mostly in tune, even though you get that nice movement, okay? For Dubspot, this is Evan Sutton. I'm the senior sound design instructor and course designer in New York City and online. I'm also known as Astrolith. Check out my other tutorials on the Dubspot YouTube page. I'll catch you next time.
Welcome to Dubspot. We believe in providing you hands-on experience right away. Whether you're completely new to music and want to turn the sounds in your head into a musical reality, or you're an experienced artist looking to refine your skills and add new tools to your arsenal, we're ready to meet you at your level. For students of all ages, all levels, and all styles of music, Dubspot is here to help you achieve your goals. With course offerings both online wherever you are and at our school in the heart of New York City, we are ready to guide you through the next phase of your musical transformation. Whether you want to produce music, DJ, or do both, you've come to the right place. Come explore Dubspot for yourself. Become a part of our community and make music.